We're here tonight at Metro Music Hall, celebration of Brad Barker. And it's just a collection of old Salt Lake City hardcore bands that he either influenced or he put on his record label. Many of these bands have not played together in decades. It's an amazing night.
What this is all about tonight is about the record label that he ran, Flatline Records, and he gave quite a few local bands their start.
On the community at large, I'd say Brad was an integral part. I think he was always one of those big brother kind of guys in the scene. Actually, the first band I ever saw in this Salt Lake music scene was his band Victims Willing, and I've been obsessed with music ever since.
God, every band loved Brad Barker. He was a part of the whole band scene.
The thing about Brad is he was really foreseeing into the future a need for a record label in Salt Lake City. When he invited us to be on his record label, it was like, seriously, it was like such a huge deal for me, Brad was already a legend in the scene, because he had done so much musically. It was just unbelievable.
Brad's influence over the community was a big one. The unique thing about Brad is he was such a team player that not only was he in bands like The Has-Beens, Anger Overload, Hair Farm, Victims Willing, but he put other bands on the map besides his own, which I think was a very unique contribution.
My relationship started way back in '89. I was in a band called Sadhana, and we played with one of his first bands, Victims Willing. Played venues like Speedway Cafe, the Pompadour, Club Stars, and then after that, just watched him grow with different bands as he moved on to different things.
Anybody can tell you that he knew absolutely everything about music. He could talk to you for hours. He changed a lot of people's lives in lots of different ways.
I mean, without Brad, these bands probably wouldn't have existed, and all the bands that followed wouldn't have existed without Brad Barker.
He reminded me that there's already a lot of well-established Salt Lake City bands that deserve representation. And he said, I've been thinking about starting a record label. And I just happened to be fortunate enough to be on one of the bands that was on that record label.
And my mom loved my band, The Stench. I played drums for his band, Victims Willing, and she didn't like that band as much. Like, that band made the band room all smelly and stuff. That's a good story. That's how punk rock Brad Barker is. Like, it got stinky in that band room.
Oh, what did I really love about Brad? Oh, that's a complex question. His sense of adventure and probably his sense of humor. He had a pretty wicked sense of humor. The stuff that he said was just so funny.
What would I say to Brad if he was here now? I'd say you left a huge and amazing legacy for Salt Lake City punk scene and music scene.
I think this is great. Any excuse to get a bunch of these old dudes together that we often don't get to see each other except for on social media, and it's amazing to see friends from all over the country tonight coming together to do this.
It's just awesome to see these bands get back together and play and do this in his honor. He would be flabbergasted that this is going on. So it's a big honor that they're getting together in his name to do this.
They believed in us before we did. We didn't know what we were doing, and Brad saw something in us that we didn't believe we could do. And he was the first guy that said, yeah, you can, and that's it. Guy's a legend.